put your hands together and welcome to the stage Gareth-David Lloyd and Joseph Capp. Hello. 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 Welcome. Have a seat. Have a seat. I have been accused of the last couple of panels. I've had a lectern over here at one point, and they're like, are you just doing a TED Talk at one point? And then the first one, I was sat all the way over here, and they were like, do we smell or something like that? So this time, I've decided I am going to sit right over. No, they smell. No, I'm going to sit right over here. We're going to get, how are you? How's your weekend been? Have you had a good one?
Lovely.
Really nice, thank you.
Really nice. Have you been to Glasgow before?
I have once before with a play, yeah.
Ooh.
Lovely place.
Yeah, and what was the play?
It was Hedda Gabler,
okay.
which is a very depressing play.
Heavy.
A depressing play coming to Glasgow. They're a very upbeat lot here to Glasgow, so excellent.
I don't think anyone came and saw it. So.
No, excellent. How about yourself, Gareth? Have you been to Glasgow before?
I've been here with a play. I did 12 Angry Men.
So Socky Hall Street.
Yeah.
12 Angry
Another
Men,
heavy play. And I've done a few cons here as well.
Nice.
Any excuse to come to Glasgow,
yeah.
I'm happy because I love it here.
Have you guys done the sights? Have you had a look around the town? Have you seen?
Not this time, no.
No.
I went to Finniston.
You went to Finniston?
I've never been to Finniston before, which is a really nice street, lots of good bars.
Not this time. I haven't been out. I usually like to go to the Ubiquitous Chip on the weekends when I come to Glasgow. Yeah. It's a really nice pub restaurant in the. But last night I watched the rugby.
That's why it looks so sad.
Second half was really good. We nearly got you.
You were waiting for that, weren't you? You were just waiting for it to be mentioned.
If they'd allowed that try where the bloke skipped over the tackle, then we would have won by a point. So there.
But you didn't.
But we didn't. And then I got a haggis supper delivered from the Merchant Chippy, which was absolutely delicious.
Yep, haggis supper is. I lived in Birmingham for 6 years doing charity work because it's a place worse than here. No, I lived in Birmingham 6 years, and I remember when I moved back. My wife's from Birmingham, and we moved back here, and she was like, "Let's go to a chippy." And one thing that Scottish chippies have that English chippies don't have is choice. We have a menu, right? England, it's like you can have 2 different types of fish and maybe a sausage, and that's about it here.
I always get the sausage.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, in Scotland, it's like have a pie, but it's deep fried. Have burger, but it's deep fried. And then there's, of course, the haggis supper, which is the best thing on the menu.
It was delicious. The Merchant Chippy, does anyone know it? I got a delivery from there anyway. It's really good.
He's giving it 5 stars on Deliveroo.
Did you get a deep fried Mars bar as well?
No, it was on the menu. I didn't get a deep fried Mars bar. Somebody gave me a cake from the convention, which was literally a block of sugar, so I didn't want to do any more.
I do recommend there is a fudge place stall over there.
I've got some.
Did you get the tablet?
No. I got gifted a little box of traditional
tablet. Right, okay. We're not talking about Dragon Age here. We're going to be talking about Scottish cuisine. Give us a cheer if we like tablet. Right, how to describe tablet? It's like fudge, but you quadruple the amount of sugar in it. Oh, wow. Like, it is...
So it's like extra hard.
Oh, yeah, it's solid. Like, it's hard. It shouldn't be too hard. It should, crumble a wee bit as well, which is quite nice.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You have it in ice cream. It's like next level when it's an ice cream, tablet ice cream. So I recommend if you go over there, they sell some tablet. Try that out.
So if I want diabetes, go over there.
Yeah, 100%. Okay. Well, you're in Glasgow. You get that as part of entering the city. So it's excellent. But thank you so much for joining us on the stage and joining us in Glasgow for the con. I guess the first thing I want to ask, so Dragon Age, obviously huge, franchise in gaming. How did you guys become part of it? What was your sort of story there? What's your origin story into Dragon Age?
Well, the studio that did the sound for it, that did the dialogue, BioWare reached out to them and said that they were a fan of something, a character I'd played in another game. I have no idea what that was, but I think it might have been a game called Divinity Original Sin 2. And they said based on that, they wanted to bring me in to see if it would work, and I did an hour or 2 session on it. They gave me a great bio sheet with the concept art for Elganon, which was in the book. And that was how it happened, yeah. It was very nice of them to do that. No one else has. Yeah.
Listen to his voice. You could just hear him on the phone and want to cast him in your game, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
So deep and rich.
Stop it.
We were chatting like in the back there. I didn't say it at the time, but I was like, "My God, that voice! Can I get you to record like my voicemail message later on?"
You should have got him to do your entry.
I know, right? Totally.
They would have gone crazy then.
How about yourself, Gareth? How did you?
Well, I did. BioWare. Somebody at BioWare was a fan of Torchwood. They'd already cast Eve Miles, another Torchwood actress, in Dragon Age 2. So they reached out to me and said, would I like to play an ancient magic elf? They made me read a couple of lines for it first before they decided. And yeah, it just happened like that.
Nice.
And then obviously he survived and had a backstory and issues. So he came back for the Veilguard 10 years later. Yeah, that was it.
Amazing, amazing. And with these characters, what was sort of your process of getting into that character, creating that character? You know, obviously you've been given scripts. What's the process look like when you're sort of delving into it?
Well, the process for Solus was quite stressful because I didn't have any information or context except for the fact that he was ancient, he was an elf, and he was magic. They were certainly back then. They were sort of really cagey about spoilers, and so they gave you as little information as possible. I didn't have a script. So it was quite nerve-wracking turning up, and there was just a screen on the wall with my lines coming up one by one with a brief description of how to say the line, what situation the character in, whether he's fighting, whether he's walking at pace or meandering, and that was it. So you had to sort of develop the character through guesswork, really. And it takes so long to record these games. By about 3 months into it, you start to get an inkling of what makes the sort of character tick, and you start to, bring a bit more of that to it. But yeah, it's one of the most scary things for an actor that I've done is work on computer games. It's a bit different now. 10 years later, I think the industry understands the actor's process a bit more, and you do get a bit more preparation. Certainly with mocap, actors are going in and doing the whole scenes, getting the script and doing the whole scenes with each other on a sound stage, which is lovely. Didn't get to do that for Dragon Age, unfortunately, but
we didn't meet. This is the first time we've ever met.
First time we've ever met.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so hopefully things will keep developing in that direction, and actors can be together. So it's so much nicer when actors can be together to do lines, because acting is reacting a lot of it and listening. So when you're just imagining, that's when sometimes performances or narratives can fall down slightly because actors weren't in the room together. But hey, I think we did a pretty good job considering.
I'd agree. You did a great job.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah, they gave, like I said, they gave me a really nice. I had a lot more. I had like a full bio sheet.
Wow.
And obviously the concept art. He's the god of the sun and vengeance, so I kind of wanted him to sound quite. This sounds a bit silly now. I wanted him to sound a bit quite warm, being the god of the sun. So I used my lower register. And then being the god of vengeance, I just wanted his delivery to be quite cold, to kind of contrast that. And yeah, I think all the work was done for me with that bio and with the dialogue itself.
Yeah. It kind of helps sort of understand the history of your character then, sort of to go from there. Amazing. So Dragon Age games, choice. That's a big thing. There's paths that you can go down, different ways that you can develop. So do you have a particular favorite path? Outcome?
Oh, for Solus, yeah, definitely. Spoilers. Who hasn't played it or doesn't know the endings or the choices?
Earmuff.
Oh, it's only you. It doesn't matter. No. Yeah, well, there are 3 endings, 3 or 4 different endings for Solus, and depending on how you feel about the character, you can sort of go, all right, I want to beat his face in, or I want to be his friend and help him, or I'm going to trick him because he tricks everyone. So I think that's really nice for a player to do that. But my favorite is Redeem. As I was saying, I had little information for the character for Inquisition. So when he was still alive at the end of Trespasser, and there was a nod towards the fact that he's going to be coming back, I just played the game. So I thought, right, I'm going to go into the next game when it comes out, or when we start recording, knowing everything that I can possibly learn. So I played Inquisition 3 times, and every single time I was always friends with myself, Solus. In fact, the last time I played it, I romanced myself, which is a bit weird. But yeah, so Redeem is definitely my Redeem Solus. You know, despite all his flaws and his trickery, there's a righteous, good soul in there somewhere, I think.
Nice.
I haven't played Veilguard yet, but generally speaking with games, at least on my first playthrough, I'll be very good, but strict. I'm playing Avowed right now, and I am killing quite a lot of people. But yeah, generally speaking, I try and not kill people if I can get away with it.
I think you and I have the same approach then. Like, it's the first time I play a game, whatever game it is, I'll be like, I am pretty much going to follow what I think are the rules. I'm going to be very good and get to a very good ending. And then I'll play through and go, right, I'm going to be an absolute arsehole this time. Like, kill everybody, steal everything.
I tried to do that with Red Dead Redemption 2, and if you're naughty in that, basically that's the difficulty setting.
Yeah, because you get gangs coming after you and the
that's
police.
The difficulty, I love that. The fact that you can choose the difficulty setting is how you play it, how you morally play it. I thought that's really clever. So I tried doing that the second time around playing Red Dead Redemption. I thought I'm gonna be a proper gangster cowboy. I'm gonna kill everyone. I'm gonna steal everything. I was
all that money went to paying your bounties.
So playing it like that, I was literally getting killed every 3.5 minutes. So I gave up.
Amazing. Do you have any sort of particular favorite lines of dialogue that you've delivered in the series?
I lay in dark and dreaming sleep while countless wars and ages pass.
Oh,
it's my favorite.
Ooh,
just rolls off the tongue.
That's nice.
Written in the iambic pentameter.
Got really nerdy at the end. I love it.
It's written in verse. Well, a lot of Solus's lines are written in verse. That was a real treat to do. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I don't know if this. I don't think this actually made it into the game. Maybe you can correct me, but I do like the "All the world will soon share the peace and comfort of my reign" line from the Thedas Calls trailer. Does anyone know? Was that in the game? I couldn't find it.
Oh yeah,
it is.
It's in
what
the
scene
game.
is it in? Is it?
Okay. Right towards the end. There you go. I love you. I've gone through every line of dialogue, made sure. Okay. What I love is that none of them turned around and I thought there wasn't going to be fact checking in this one here. So, you've sort of mentioned played games like Red Dead Redemption. Have you got like a history of like playing games? You know, or what was the earliest into gaming that you got into?
The first thing I played was I had a Game Boy Pocket, but the first console I had was a Nintendo 64, and I remember going to a friend's sleepover and playing GoldenEye, and I'd already loved the film and just I remember the guys.
That game was amazing.
Yeah. It was such a game changer as well.
Very good.
Yeah. It was an incredible game. Yeah.
We were all up all night playing it, and I just remember the kid whose sleepover it was, his dad came down in a pair of like red Y-front pants shouting at us for being so loud, and that image is just burnt in my mind. But yeah, that's fine.
Also, anyone who went Odd Job, get out.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. What was the really cool, tall person? Was it Baron Samedi?
Jaws. Oh, yeah, Baron Samedi.
Oh, Jaws. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was difficulty.
Always play slappers only as well, which
Yes,
is hilarious. How about yourself, Gareth?
Well, I remember owning an Atari. Is it Atari 500?
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. I didn't own it. I was bought it. I was only about 10 or 11 or something like that. Maybe a bit younger. So that was my first ever computer. And I played quite a lot. Then I had an Amiga, an Atari ST, and then school happened, and I became a student, and then swapped the computer for booze, and going out and doing all that stuff. And it wasn't actually until I did Dragon Age that I thought, right, I had kids as well, so let's get a family PlayStation. I'll play Dragon Age, do my research because I'm not getting any context. So I'll 500 hours of research later, and that was the catalyst. That's what got me back into RPGs. So since playing Dragon Age Inquisition, I've become a gamer again.
Oh, I love that.
What's your favorite of the Dragon Age games?
Inquisition.
Yeah.
If you romance Solus.
That's the thing, like, Dragon Age is a prime example. You can make choices. There's a story. Like gaming has changed, doesn't it? Like GoldenEye was based on a movie, but again, if the movie wasn't there, it would be a shoot 'em up. And if you go way back, I think the first game I ever played was obviously the original Mario. There's no story to speak of, so like it's changed now. Now there's storylines and production, and I guess that leads to sort of challenges. Is there any sort of challenges that you find with sort of voicing these characters? Is it like how much do you have to do? Is that sort of a challenge as well? What do you think?
I find it's kind of the opposite in that the challenge can sometimes be, like you were saying, how little information you get, and trying to create memorable three-dimensional characters when you don't have a lot of information or you don't really have any time with the script. I've done a few games where you've literally just read the scene right before you're recording the lines, and you just wish you had a bit more time to kind of create something. I think that's the biggest challenge, personally.
Of course.
Yeah, we're told as actors to, well, depending which school of acting you sort of follow, which is right for you, because I think it's different for every actor. But personally, I'm an actor. If I'm doing theatre, is repetition. Anthony Hopkins and Gary Oldman say the same thing. Is when you say the lines so many times and get them as part of your body, and say them so many times they don't make sense anymore. So you know them, but when you say them, they're almost fresh again because you've done them in so many different ways, which you can't do with so you read the line once and you have to make very, very quick decisions. Sometimes the decisions pay off, but not always. I do like to sit with a script. I like to do it after going for a run. I like to do it when I'm tired in the morning. I like doing it after a drink on a Saturday night, reading scripts in lots of different sort of mental head spaces, and then sort of seeing what comes out, because but you can't do that with games. And like I was saying earlier, being in the room with other actors, I think, is like such a gift when you're working. I felt really like when I read about how they did Red Dead Redemption, and they were all together. And I think they did that for some of the mocap stuff with Veilguard as well. And I was really, really sort of upset because before the pandemic happened, there were rumors that I was going to be taken over to LA to do all the mocap stuff for Solus and be in the scene with Brooke, and certainly that last scene was done like that. And pandemic happened, and for one reason or another, I didn't get to go and do the mocap. And I mean, if Bioware is probably going to be angry for me for saying this, if there's any of them left. But I literally went into my first recording day in London, and I had to watch a video of somebody else doing Solus's mocap, saying the lines as well. And they said, right, if you can just do the lines in exactly the same point that he says them, in exactly the same rhythm, and for me that's no longer acting. That's just doing something by numbers. So
there's a lot of that now.
I think it was realised. I think a lot of it then I got brought back in to do the lines, and I think I went back in, did the lines in my way, and then they redid the mocap to fit my interpretation. So that was really difficult.
It sounds it. So, challenges aside, let's talk about something positive. What's your experience sort of coming to events like this and meeting fans of your work?
This is my first experience. This is the
Really?
first convention I've ever been to. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's been very lovely.
Yeah?
Yeah, and also as a fan, just walking around and seeing the stalls and people saying nice things and bringing you treats. It's really lovely.
Tablet. Someone sort this man out with tablet.
And it's nice to meet the rest of the cast as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's been really good.
And I imagine as well, because of experiences with Torchwood as well. Have you had the sort of experience of meeting fans and experiences like this before?
Yeah, well, I'm a sort of con veteran now, thanks to Torchwood. I've been doing cons for many years, and it is definitely a gift that keeps giving. Thanks to the nature of sci-fi shows and shows that allow audiences to escape real escapism. I've travelled all over the world, and it's been lovely. So a lot of actors come up and sort of say that in sort of like doctor shows and crime shows, say, I need to get in a fantasy or sci-fi just so I can go to conventions. It looks amazing.
Yeah.
And it really is. And you see sort of communities develop and people meet up at cons and the fan meets and the meet and greets, and it's such a lovely sense of community. And when you're in theatre, you get that immediate response from an audience. If you do a show, you come out and you get a round of applause and you get that connection with an audience. With TV and film and games, you don't. You have to wait for the reaction to come out, and it's what conventions allows you to do is get that first-hand impression of the effect that your work's had, which is lovely. When you guys come over to the table and say, I really connect with Solus, or I really connect with Yanto, or that relationship helped me come out to my family, and you hear stories like that, you get in that first-hand impression of the effect your work's had, and that's special.
I find it fascinating, sort of what you say, like it's people saying like, oh, I need to get that sci-fi fantasy show now. It's kind of flipped, hasn't it? Because back in the day, in the early days of 60s, 70s, 80s, where it was Star Trek and Star Wars and everything like that, and people would be too afraid of doing these shows for being typecast, whereas now they're wanting to do the shows because they know that...
Get me a ray gun or a broadsword.
yeah, exactly that. It's like, I want these things, but it gives them more opportunity to meet fans and actually be involved in these types of things because of what it gives back. So I think it's a lovely sort of thing to sort of pick up on there. I'd love to open up to the audience, if that's okay. Oh, sorry, I did not give a signal. We will have a roving mic in a second, and we have got a chance to take some questions. So please feel free to put your hands up if you've got any questions in the audience. I love straight. I knew it. I knew you would. We've got a roving mic on its way to you, but if you've got a question, put your hand up. If you can keep it up for as long as possible, and I'll make sure we come back to you. Got right down at the front here. It'd be fantastic. It's okay, just talk amongst yourselves.
Run! You're half hour.
Be nice!
Out of all the Veilguard characters that you know, like the main cast, and yes, I'm including Manfred, Asan, and Spite in this, who's your favorite?
I'd say, bearing in mind I haven't played it yet, but I've seen a lot of cutscenes and things, I'd say Lucianus? Lucanus? Yeah. I'd say, from what I've seen, his voice work and also the appearance of the character, I think he looks awesome. So I'd say that, yeah. And Fen Harel.
I mean, Solus's arc is amazing, but I mean, just listen to Algernon's voice. I remember the trailer you said earlier about people saying, "Oh, with Patrick Stewart's in it." Well, when that came out, and I saw some of the comments. It sounds like Patrick Stewart. I was like, no, that's better than Patrick Stewart. that is awesome. I felt quite. Oh my God, they've got a really, really powerful voice for Algernon.
Thank you.
So yeah, I think vocally, I think it's this guy. But character-wise, Solus. He's so complex and such a. Can I swear? Yeah. He's such an arsehole.
You're in Glasgow, we could say the worst.
I came up with a phrase earlier on. It was, you get anti-heroes, but I think Solus is like an anti-villain. And yeah, it was so much fun playing him and like not knowing what he's going to do next or what he's going to say or what his real plan is. I think it's such for an actor, it's really nice to play those complex sort of roles.
Love it. Any other questions from the audience? Oh, we've got in the middle here, so we're going to do one, and then we'll come over to yourself, and then I think yeah, cool. Excellent.
Hi. I was just wondering, if you do get around to playing Veilguard, how would you make your Rook your character or your Inquisitor?
Do you mean how would I make them look, or?
Yeah, like what class would they be? Things
I always feel a bit of shame admitting this. I try and make them look as much like me as possible.
I do the same. We all do the same.
And I did,
every game.
I did actually do that with Veilguard when I got it. And then life got in the way and I kind of stopped playing. But I did manage, because the character creator is so good. They even let you have awful hairlines like mine. And yeah, you can go into really great depth. In terms of what class, I can't remember how it's broken down in Veilguard, but I always usually go for a barbarian type build. I don't have great skill with video games, so I just go in hacking and slashing everything usually.
Button bashing.
Yeah, button bashing. The kind of mage build is usually the last thing on my list. Or maybe do like a bow and arrow, like rogue type thing, alternatively. But yeah. What do you play as?
I I have a mage.
Mage,
Oh.
yeah.
She has a staff.
Yeah.
How about yourself, Gareth? You do the same thing, make it look like you? The character?
Yeah, but it's my first playthrough. I always go for me. They're always human and is broadsword. I'm a broadsword. I'm sword and shield man.
Yeah.
Like I think in real life, if we're in medieval time, I'd definitely I'd own that look. And then the more playthroughs I do, the further away I get from myself. For instance, when I first did Inquisition, I was a human warrior male. By the end, I was a female elf mage, so I could romance myself more than anything. But yes, that's what I tend to do. I tend to start off as much like me as possible, and then drift away with.
I don't know any gamer who hasn't done that. Every single game, like the famous ones like The Sims. Anyone who plays The Sims, they put themselves in it, and then they put themselves in the swimming pool and remove the ladder. Okay, we got question was over here. Next one over here. Amazing.
Hello.
Hey.
Hello.
Joseph, I'm curious because this is your first Dragon Age game. How getting a grasp of the Elven words and language was for you, because it can be quite tricky.
Yeah.
And I know there's like a lot of rules to it as well.
Yeah, in terms of the language itself, do I have much Elven in the game? Remind me.
There's a little bit.
There's a little bit,
which is why I
yeah.
thought it might be more difficult, because you didn't have time to get used to speaking it.
I think for the most part they gave me free rein on how to pronounce it. In terms of kind of getting into the world and the lore, I kind of just binged on Dragon Age when I got the role. I played Origin and Inquisition simultaneously, which I don't recommend doing. I got very confused, and I also was listening to a lot of like Gildir Thalin's videos and like Jackdaw and like Dragon Age lore videos, and like there's a podcast, I can't remember, it's called the Lorecast maybe, about Dragon Age, and just kind of completely binged on Dragon Age stuff. Which, again, I don't recommend, because, you know, you take the enjoyment out of it a little bit more. I wish I'd taken my time with it. Yeah, just did a deep dive. In terms of the actual language, I did absolutely nothing to prepare. Sorry.
So there wasn't like a Duolingo? Or
No, there wasn't a Duolingo.
There's no Elvish Duolingo, no.
No.
And like I was saying earlier, the lines come up, but with the Elvish, it's pretty good. It's written out in phonetics.
Yeah.
And there is somebody on the other end of the line going, he's saying it wrong, he's saying it wrong. And they will pull you up if you...
Amazing. Okay, we got a question at the front here. The man who's still wearing the awesome shirt from earlier. You might, no.
When you're working on a game like Veilguard, how many years back do you start with like the recording process and stuff? And by the time the game comes out, do you actually remember like things that you've recorded years back?
Yeah, you do remember things, especially if you enjoyed it, and you know, the lines are great. Like I said, a lot of Solus's lines were in verse and absolutely beautifully written. What I sort of say, Trick Weeks was like they created Solus, and it's so beautifully written. It was a pleasure to read the lines. So I remember most of it. But I started Veilguard about 3 years ago, and I think Inquisition, including the DLCs, that took 3.5 years to do all of it. But it's not in one go. You go and you record a bit, and then they go make a bit, and then a month later you'll go back and record another bit. So it's not intensive, but it's a long process. A lot of work goes involved.
Yeah, I think maybe 2 or 3 years ago, I think most of the games I've been in recorded after I started on this, but came out before. And I did forget a lot of it. And that's why it's nice when the game comes out and you watch the cutscenes and you refamiliarize yourself with it. I think quite a lot of Elganon was rewritten closer to the release of the game, though, because I went in for a few sessions where I did quite a lot of the stuff that ended up in the game there. But yeah, I tend to forget quite a lot after it's done. Especially with this, where they wouldn't send me the scripts in advance, so I didn't get really to familiarize myself with them first. So the only time I saw them was in the booth. so I didn't have that process of getting to grips with it first. Yeah, it feels like ages ago.
Yeah, about 3 years ago, I think.
Okay. Excellent. I think we've got time for one more question. If we've got one in the audience. Yes, there we go.
Hi there. You both played villainous or villain-adjacent characters.
Anti-villains.
Yes, anti-villain characters. In your acting careers, do you have more fun playing villains or heroes? Do you have any preferences?
Again, I like playing. I like playing complex, layered characters, and usually the most complex, most layered characters are the villains. But that's not saying that there aren't heroes that are just as complex. So I think. So I'd say most of the time it's a villain, but I think if a character's written well, if they're written human, they're written with flaws, and they're written with issues and history, and they're written really well, then that's what I think makes it enjoyable rather than hero or villain. It's just a shame that most really sort of complex characters tend to be villainous for some reason.
Yeah, I don't think I've played many heroes, mostly villains. But yeah, I think that the villains are quite a lot more fun to play because you get to express yourself and say things, and the character does things that you would never do in real life, which is fun. But yeah, if it's a hero, if it's also well written and well rounded and complex, and they're not just kind of all out good, then it can be, I guess, equally as fun.
Yeah, if you're playing someone just squeaky clean and you can predict everything they're going to say because you like their moral compass is so sort of strong, it can get really boring.
Yeah. That's why I don't really like Superman as like a hero. I find he's too good.
Yeah, you know exactly what he thinks about everything already.
Yeah.
See, Batman's better. Thank you, guys. Great questions from the audience. Thank you so much. Before we wrap up, just one last thing. Do you have any advice to anybody who's be looking to get into sort of voice acting, video game that areas? What would you say?
Make a reel. Get as many. Do some voices, do some characters, even if you made them up. As long as you've got a reel of contrasting, showing your range of emotion, range of sound, and get that onto a really nicely produced reel, because that's what you're selling, really, and then try and get that out to agents.
Yeah, and also if you're here and listening to this, you're probably halfway there, and it's good to be a fan of something that you want to be in. So play video games, enjoy anime and animated shows, because there are, actors out there who, want to be doing video game voice work who don't really care about the actual medium. But I think it really helps to care about it, because it also gives you a good knowledge of how these lines will fit in the game, and the kind of technical aspects of it. But yeah, and get a good reel.
Amazing. Thank you very much. But thank you very much for joining me on the stage for the chat. It's been brilliant.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
A round of applause for Gareth and for Joseph. And thank you very much for joining us today, and enjoy the rest of your day, whatever you get up to. Thank you. Bye-bye.